first ever appearance at Paris Fashion Week.
Paris was supposed to be her big return moment. The bright camera flashes, the fancy silk dresses, the world's best fashion people watching from the front seats. This was Meghan Markle's big return back into the top levels of beauty and power. But instead of clapping and liking her, what Meghan got next was something straight out of her bad dreams. South Park, yes, again, made a mean new show that made fun of her Paris Fashion Week visit to bits. And the trouble, well, it left the Duchess of Sussex supposedly in tears, wondering how it had all gone so badly again. Let's go back. The world had barely gotten over from the mess of Meghan's Jamgate and her wine company fail when she showed up in Paris, covered in a cream outfit that yelled old money fancy. She was trying to send a message. Meghan is back. The palace can't quiet her. The reporters can't destroy her. And Hollywood, well, she was ready to win it all over again. But while she walked boldly through the show, there was a different kind of trouble coming. Not in the front row, but inside the writer's room of South Park.
Okay, what are you doing?
Relaxing.
According to people who knew, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the famous pair behind the cartoon Chaos Machine, had been quietly making a follow-up to their popular worldwide privacy tour show, the one that sent Meghan and Harry's PR group into meltdown mode last year. Only this time, they weren't holding anything back. The new show, titled The Duchess of Desperation, played just days after Meghan's Paris visit, and it was mean. It showed a cartoon Duchess with a nearly same beige outfit walking through Paris Fashion Week, waving big to pretend photographers as the crowd yawned. The joke, she wasn't actually asked. The show's tagline, when being important calls and no one answers.
If it's truly what we want, then we really can get away from it all. No more magazines and Netflix shows.
And that's where the laughing started. From London to Los Angeles, internet media lit up like wildfire. Videos from the show hit X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, and Reddit, getting millions of watches and hours. Tags like South Park Meghan and Duchess of Desperation were popular for 2 days straight. Even worse, the internet started putting Meghan's real Paris videos next to the cartoon copy, comparing her body positions, her face looks, even her hand waves to the big parody. And in every comparison, the likeness was weird. South Park didn't even need to make bigger. One TikToker joked, she did it for them. For Meghan, who had been hoping on the Paris trip to make her look better and interest European fashion companies, it was a terrible hit. People close to her told newspapers that she was heartbroken and embarrassed. Supposedly, she broke down in tears when she saw the show trending, saying she felt made fun of on a worldwide stage. But here's the thing. South Park didn't just go after Meghan's fashion pics. They went for her whole brand.
But because your family like stupid and then so are like journalists?
In one harsh scene, the cartoon Duchess sits front seat at a pretend fashion show called Virtue Verite, a copy of Meghan's realness branding. As she's ignored by designers and internet-famous people, she takes out a notepad and begins thinking of new ways to seem normal. Her first idea, start a podcast about not being understood. Her second, create a fashion line made completely from recycled headlines. Ouch! The cartoon even took aim at Meghan's real-life deals, talking about her Spotify trouble, her Netflix waits, and the constant stories about her coming lifestyle brand. At one point, her cartoon helper says, "Your podcast about being hurt has been stopped again." The audience howled. The real Meghan, not so much. Reports out of Montecito claim she was crushed and angry at the show's makers, calling it mean and woman-hating. Harry, always the protector, supposedly wanted to call his lawyers to look at choices, though legal experts quickly said satire is protected. And South Park, they love on trouble.
Duchess of Sussex taking her 4.2 million Instagram followers.
But behind the anger, there was something deeper, something that hit a feeling. Meghan's look had already been shaking under the weight of failed projects and shrinking public caring, now being made fun of again by the same show that helped sink her believability the first time. It felt like a picture full circle. One person who knew told Page 6, it's Meghan's worst fear becoming a funny story. She's built herself around being taken seriously, being seen as powerful and misunderstood. But South Park turned her story into a repeated joke. And to make things worse, even Hollywood didn't rush to protect her. When the first South Park copy played last year, a few famous people quietly showed caring. some tweeting about bullying or unfair news treatment. But this time, silence. Not a word from Oprah, not a post from Tyler Perry, not even a quiet emoji from her Hollywood group. It's as if everyone knew. Making fun of Meghan Markle had become normal entertainment.
I'm sick of hearing about them, but I can't get away from them. They're everywhere, in my face. Look, Kyle, we just kind of don't care about some dumb prince and his stupid wife.
Meanwhile, the funny pictures just kept coming. One popular tweet read, "South Park just did more harm to Meghan's brand in 22 minutes than the palace could in 2 years." Another joked, if she wanted privacy, maybe she shouldn't have walked into Paris with a camera group. The more Meghan's group tried to control it, the worse it got. Her PR group supposedly reached out to certain news places asking them to avoid showing woman-hating stuff. But that only fed the story because when South Park is part of it, trying to quiet the joke becomes part of the joke. And that's exactly what happened.
From when he worked at Valentino. They always keep moving around. And front row seats, I mean, he was chatting up with Anna Wintour of Vogue.
By the next morning, internet media users had renamed Meghan as the Duchess of Desperation in comments and words across many websites. Even fashion websites, the ones that usually walk lightly, began running side-by-side comparisons of Meghan's outfit with the cartoon copy playfully captioned, "Our copy's life." For Meghan, who has spent years trying to remake herself from royal fighter to world influencer, this moment was more than just a funny picture. It was a reminder that her hold on the public story might finally be sliding for good.
Destruction of Meghan and Harry just because it's so funny.
And perhaps the most funny part, Meghan supposedly had been in early talks with a French fancy label before Paris Fashion Week, hoping to work together on a future campaign. But after the South Park storm hit, the company quietly backed out. As one person who knew put it, no company wants to become part of the funny story. So there she was in her California big house, watching the world laugh while her Paris dream turned into another PR trouble. The return that was supposed to rewrite her story had instead brought back her biggest bad dream. But Meghan being Meghan, she wasn't about to sit back and take it. Not this time. Because behind the tears and big news, people say she began making calls to her lawyers, to her PR planners, and even to an old friend from Hollywood determined to fight back and take back her story once again. If there's one thing Meghan Markle hates more than bad news, it's being laughed at. And this time, the laughing was worldwide. Within 48 hours of South Park's mean Duchess of Desperation show playing, Meghan supposedly went into full-blown crisis mode inside her Montecito big house. People who saw claimed that the Sussex home, normally a calm background for Netflix specials and rose wine photo shoots, had turned into a PR war room. The air was thick with worry. Calls were being made at all hours. Meghan's personal group was rushing. Harry was walking around. And the feeling, complete panic. She was angry. One person who knew told The Sun, it wasn't just about being made fun of. She felt betrayed. Betrayed by Hollywood, betrayed by her friends, and betrayed by the silence. And that silence was really loud. Because unlike last time when South Park's worldwide privacy tour caused a short celebrity defense from Meghan supporters, this time no one wanted to touch the trouble. Everyone from the fashion editors she once tried to win to the talk show leaders she used to charm was keeping their distance. The reason the video had gone too popular, it wasn't just trending. It was a cultural moment. Even late-night leaders joined in adding their own joking comments about the show. One joked, South Park didn't create Meghan's Paris moment. They just filmed it better. That one hurt. According to royal reporters, Meghan's group immediately contacted her lawyers to review possible lies or privacy breaks. But the advice they got back was harsh. South Park was untouchable. It was parody, and parody was legally protected. So if Meghan couldn't fight them legally, she'd do what she does best, fight them through the news. Within days, an unknown source close to the Duchess began giving caring quotes to shiny magazines. Articles started showing up with headlines like Meghan's pain, inside her private fight after new cartoon shame, and Duchess of Strength, how Meghan Markle continues to rise above hate. But instead of making sympathy, the reaction was the opposite. Commenters filled the articles with making fun. Rising above hate? She's really suing cartoons, one wrote. Another said if she spent half as much time laughing at herself as she does calling lawyers, she'd actually be likable. Even worse, South Park's official internet media account responded to one of those carrying headlines with a single mean line. When they tell you to stop watching, but it's about you. Oof. That single post got over 1 million likes, and the internet exploded again. Trey Parker and Matt Stone didn't even need to do talks. Their silence became the message. Their not caring was louder than Meghan's anger. And while Meghan's group tried to change direction, suggesting new power appearances and sending feelers to friendly talk shows, it was clear that the cultural wave had turned. Even people who once protected her were now rolling their eyes. One Hollywood maker was quoted saying, "The thing about Meghan is she doesn't know when to stop. She could have ignored it, and the internet would have moved on. But by reacting, she fed the fire. And the fire was spreading fast because now South Park fans were looking through the show frame by frame, pointing out hidden Easter eggs that made fun of other parts of Meghan's life. In one scene, the cartoon Duchess looks into a mirror labeled Reflections of Royalty, only to see herself holding a script titled The Meghan Show, a poke at her rumored Netflix project. Another scene shows her handing out jars of jam to cartoon celebrities who quickly toss them into the trash. A cruel nod to her failed American Riviera orchard brand. It wasn't just parody, it was destruction. And yet, despite all that, Meghan refused to give up. According to people who knew, she began writing a public power essay about strength and bullying, planning to publish it through a major place like Vogue or The Cut. The essay people who knew said would talk about how women in power are too often made into cartoons or punished for wanting success. It would put her as the victim of system woman-hating wrapped in cartoon humor. But when her draft began moving around behind the scenes, editors supposedly said no. One source told Page 6, there was fear it would look like she can't take a joke. That essay would have made her seem weak, exactly what South Park was making fun of. So, the piece was quietly put away. Meanwhile, South Park's watching numbers went really high. The Duchess of Desperation show became one of their most watched parts of the year, and every headline Meghan's group tried to hide only pushed the story further into the bright lights. Then came the final shame. During a red carpet event in Los Angeles, a photographer shouted at Harry and Meghan as they left their car, "Hey, Meghan, will there be a season 2 of your South Park show?" The crowd laughed. Cameras flashed. Harry's jaw got tight. Meghan's face froze. It was the moment she understood this wasn't just another newspaper scandal. This was cultural making fun of on a level she couldn't spin, couldn't manage, and couldn't run from. Back in Montecito, people who knew say Meghan went down. She supposedly canceled planned Zoom meetings, avoided calls, and spent days off internet media. Harry tried to comfort her, telling her the bad reaction would fade. But it wasn't fading, it was changing. You see, the South Park trouble had opened the gates again. Old videos, old talks, even old stories about her before royal life began coming back across websites. Users started digging into her past, her acting days, her Hollywood friends, her separated family. It was as if the internet had found again its favorite sport, picking apart Meghan Markle. And just like that, the Duchess who once controlled world attention was now a funny story with a trending hashtag. But the most surprising twist came not from Meghan, but from the palace. As the mess happened, royal sources began leaking quiet, pointed comments to the reporters. One person who knew told the Telegraph, "The palace has no comment on pretend pictures, but one might say satire often shows truth more sharply than speeches." Translation, even the royals were laughing, and that's what hurt the most. For Meghan, this wasn't just about a cartoon. It was about story. She had spent years trying to place herself as the modern Diana, a woman wronged by the system. But now she was the Duchess who couldn't stop suing jokes. The looks were terrible. The story had changed from brave truth-teller to weak celebrity. And in Hollywood, how you look is everything. As one person who knew directly put it, if you become the person everyone's afraid to joke about, you're untouchable. But if you become the joke itself, you're finished. And for Meghan Markle, that understanding hit like a thunderclap. The Paris dream was dead. The return had fallen. And the South Park parody that started as just another cartoon had officially exploded one of the biggest PR meltdowns of her career. But this wasn't the end. Not yet. Because behind the scenes, Meghan was already planning her next move. Something bolder. Something that in her mind would turn shame into winning. What she didn't know was that it would only make things worse.